What do ducks, disruption, and meaningful marketing have in common? Christian Eid, founder of DuckLife, and a creative operator who tells it like it is. Welcome to the latest episode of Steering Success. Christian, welcome. How are you, man?
I'm great, man. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure having you here, man. Let's get right into it.
Sure.
DuckLife.
Yeah.
Where did the name come from and what does it represent?
Wow, big first question. You know, it's funny. A lot of people have worked with us, either clients or people at DuckLife that probably haven't heard the full story, so I'll tell you the full story. I was born in the 80s, grew up in Saudi Arabia in the 90s. Saudi Arabia is a very different place today, but back then, almost everything was not allowed. And a big kind of release for me was music. And growing up, I'm sure lots of people still know him and love him. I was a huge Tupac fan.
Of course.
I'm still a Tupac fan.
Yeah.
And he had this tattoo on his stomach that said Thug Life.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with glorifying gangsterism or thug living or whatever. For him, it was a way of life. It was being unapologetic. It was about standing up for what you believe in. And if you believe something, to scream for it, to fight for it. So I love that attitude, and I wanted that attitude to be a part of the company. Yeah. Naturally, I can't call my company Thug Life.
Imagine.
So I replaced the thug with a duck.
Yeah.
Now, why a duck? Well, for two reasons. Ducks, for me, are a symbol for refugees. Yeah. Right? Because ducks are a migratory species. Yeah. They go from pond to pond, sea to sea, country to country with no visa. Yeah. And I think that should be a human right. Yeah. I feel like mobility should be something we're all allowed to have. And so for me, the duck, that's what it represents on a surface level on the top. But then also a duck for me is a super agile animal, right? It can walk, it can swim, it can fly, right? And there's not many animals that can do that. Yeah. And I think that's amazing. And I want that to be part of the DNA of the business that I build, right? So take care of, the less fortunate in terms of, the refugee kind of similarities or associations, and then obviously stay super agile.
I've known you for a while, man. I probably even thought to ask you that question before, but now that I'm hearing the answer, it's just blown my mind that it actually has such a deep meaning towards it.
I mean, honestly, when I first registered the business, it was more of a joke too. Like, I didn't think it would stick. I thought it was going to be a temporary name I'd keep for like maybe the first 6 months to a year, but then it just stuck, right? And I feel like today the name has done us such a service in the sense that we're not your usual group of creatives and marketeers.
Yeah, of course.
And so for a brand to be willing to speak to an agency called DuckLife and do business with an agency called DuckLife, already it filters out all the stuffy people, all the people that don't have the courage, right? So if you're going to do business with a company called DuckLife, you already have the right mindset. Yeah. So it's a great filter for us as a business.
Well, you're a marketing champion, right? So like, how important is that brand, is that name in that initial sort of impact phase? Like, can it really determine the types of people that you actually work with?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, think about first impressions. Yeah. Right? People assimilate. People they want to relate, or they want to, get to know people that impress them or that they're interested in. Yeah. It can be super shallow. It could be what you look like. Yeah. But it could also be your tone, your personality, your character. Yeah. And so how you present yourself is everything, at least for first impressions, right? And then after that, the substance needs to be real. The problem with branding, as we all know, is that sometimes what you see is not what you get. And so if there's a gap between the surface and the real, then that's where things fall apart, right? So you can't pretend to be something and then not be that person or not be that brand. That's where most brands fail. Yeah.
What's the difference between good marketing and meaningful marketing?
I mean, good marketing is getting everything right. Yeah. Right? It's figuring out your funnel, understanding who your customers are, and, just doing every step of, I guess the journey in the way that is true to your brand. That's good marketing. It's understanding who you are and who you're selling to and what your service or product is, and then making sure you deliver on all those touch points and you create the experience that you want. Meaningful marketing means leaving an impact, right? Meaningful marketing means whoever has encountered your brand is moved by it, is changed by it, has either been educated or informed by it, or has changed its perspective, or et cetera, et cetera. I think meaningful marketing is what, is left behind after they've experienced your brand or service.
Are there any brands that you can think of that have left an impact on you when it comes to their meaningful marketing campaigns, or just their in general sort of brand representation?
if we're honest, everyone is impacted by brands. They just don't know it.
Yeah.
I mean, lots of brands are impacting us daily without us realizing it, right? From the big names that you could expect, like the big technology guys or sports brands or energy or adventure brands, etc., to the less kind of appreciated brands of, technical things, right? Like laptops or microphones, etc. So everything leaves a lasting impact on us. To name a few, I mean, I would say, growing up, the biggest brands that impacted me growing up are the same brands that impact me today, right? So, we were talking earlier, car brands. When you're a kid and your dad drives a specific car, or you see that ad, or you understand that persona, that character, that carries with you, right? A lot of the stuff that we still love today come from our upbringing and from brands that really had an impact on us. Whereas today here in the region, we're starting to see brands have impact on us, meaningful brands, right? We're starting to see that today, right? Not something we had in the past. 15, 20 years ago, if you looked for a brand to inspire you, you looked anywhere but here, right? But now we're starting to see that more and more here. Brands for me like Tabby, brands, like Tamara and the Buy Now, Pay Later. I think brands like Noon, right? Where we kind of originally, I think, connected. Those are some of the brands that are doing some meaningful stuff, right? Not always, but often,
Okay. The difference between being on the client side and representing a brand, then running your own agency and having your fingers in a lot of pies, a lot of brands, and having to steer those brands. Give us that sort of snapshot.
Before I started DuckLife, I was not a huge fan of the agency world. I found it very difficult to work with agencies from the client side. Before DuckLife, I was always client side. I've never worked in an agency or for an agency. I never had an agency before. So my perspective has completely shifted 180, right?
Which is just so strange to have someone come and be client side his entire career and then think, you know what, I'll go to the other side, especially if it's like what you said, which is you haven't had good experiences or they've been challenging, they've been difficult to deal with. And hey, let me go and do it then instead.
Well, the journey of DuckLife is quite unique, at least from my perspective, in the sense that we didn't start as a marketing agency. We started as an advisory. Right? We were kind of fractional CMOs. Right? We were helping marketing executives and executives figure out their brand and growth kind of strategies. That's where we started, right? So the intention was never to build a full communication or content or social or digital marketing agency. None of that was on the original plan. Initially, we were helping people from a strategy and advisory level. I mean, opportunistically with time, people started to ask us, hey, could you take care of our content or our campaigns or our product design, etc.? And naively, we said yes and yes and yes. And then fast forward 7 years, we're a full-service creative and marketing agency. Now, how has my opinion shifted? I think I'm a lot wiser, right? I think when you're younger, 10, 15 years ago, it's easy to point fingers. It's easy to say, they don't know what they're doing. And when you're younger, you think you know it all.
Yeah, of course.
And I'd say I've been really a victim of that, or maybe I'm self-victimizing myself there. But I think time and experience changes a lot of things, right? And so back in the day where I was, I guess, unhappy with the experiences I had with agencies, now I fully understand the context of why. On the flip side to that, I think there's a very big difference between people who have been operators and people who have always been on the agency side. When you're immune or kind of, I would say, detached from the real problem and you're just a service provider and you don't understand, I would say, the importance or kind of critical nature of what these brands are trying to do, it's very hard to give a real practical solution. And I think that's something that we've sort of figured out as an agency, is that I think a lot of reasons why clients stick with us or come back to us for business is because they really see that what we're doing is a real solution to the problem. We're not looking to be agency of the year. We're looking to be solving the problems that our clients give us.
For that particular client in that
moment.
For
that particular client, for that particular audience, for that particular product. And I think that's where the gaps are between servicing and kind of, I guess, the clients themselves, is that it's very hard to really build a bridge to share kind of the responsibility of the problem. And the other piece is I think agencies fall into the trap of kind of satisfying their OPEX and their COGS, which is, hey, we did something similar before, follow this structure. Or we did something like this, follow that template. And so we try to fit problems into similar problems rather than actually dissect the real problem and build a kind of tailored solution.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do that, you're not really always solving the problem.
Yeah.
And so now that I have an agency, it's like, yeah, I really want to optimize and streamline and, try to make that look like that problem. But fundamentally, each problem is quite different. Each audience is quite different. Each product is quite different.
Yeah.
And, for us to have a sustainable business, you have to kind of balance those two things. What can I leverage from what we've already built? Mm-hmm. And what do I have to kind of invent or create to really solve this problem?
Yeah.
And it's a constant navigation between the two. There are examples where I did that really well. There are examples where we did that really badly. Right?
Yeah.
So I think that has been my shift, in the 7 years of DuckLife, is understanding that our biggest strength is maybe that we're more kind of tailored and we go deeper into understanding, the brand and the problem. But at the same time, it does have an impact on how we scale as a business, because you can't do that effectively every single time through and through. So you have to find a just balance and make sure you're actually servicing.
I've always likened the agency world, marketing creative agency world, it's probably the one industry that's probably closest to what the talent recruitment sort of sphere is, right? Because we both struggle with very similar struggles when it comes to the client relationship, that service industry, payments, everything like that, right? And we're going to touch on those sort of topics. But whenever I've worked, and I've been in a privileged seat for a long time to work with a lot of the sort of, agencies around the region and the world. And when I hear their pain points, when I hear that they've got, sort of pitches out, they're at final stages, they're about to sort of potentially win, they're waiting on a signature, and then from that win, they're probably going to have to hire 7 people, 12 people to actually work on that campaign for 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, whatever it may be. But they're in such a sort of dangerous position, which is that waiting and hoping for things to fall in their place for them to continue to progress and move forward. And we're the same. We're like, okay, so we'll work with a client. They don't want to pay us up front sometimes, and all of a sudden we've got to work on this contingent thing, which I can't believe in 2025 still exists, but it does. And then you're waiting to place someone in a role with little to no control over that process, because you don't know what the client's going to do, you don't know what the candidate's going to do, but you're working for free. Yeah, essentially, right? Yeah. And so, I've always felt that whenever I do talk to sort of business leaders within the sort of agency space, they're the ones that I can relate to the most, because they go through the same sort of pain. That all of a sudden, and then at the blink of an eye, a client can sign a contract and say, "I need you to mobilize within 3 days. I need these people to start working on my campaign." And they're like, "We don't have these people. We need to go find these people," and that could take a month or 2 months and so forth, right?
It's extremely difficult. I would say that's the most difficult part of running an agency. I think there's this assumption that we just have 10 people twiddling their thumbs all day doing nothing, and that we could start literally this afternoon, right? And then navigating kind of pitching, right? You're always pitching. You're always pitching new business. That is your pipeline. That is your revenue. That is your life source, but that takes away from, your revenue, because you could be using those resources towards actually, doing services that are payable, that are receivable. I think the constant shift in resources, the up and down, the hiring and letting go. I think the network of freelancers and part-timers. I think the most underappreciated thing about both of our businesses is we are a service business of talent. We sell talent, right? We sell knowledge. We sell experience. And we are expected to have experience, on tap. Right. And fundamentally, to grow our kind of business, you have to take huge gambles, huge risks. You have to attract the most amazing talent, keep a hold of them as much as you can, and hope that you'll be able to close enough business to sustain the new cost that you've incurred as a business.
It's so difficult.
It's extremely, extremely difficult.
And external people don't understand that complexity on just how difficult it is, that challenge.
It's extremely difficult. And I think if there was one thing I could say to our clients, it's like, if it's so difficult that you are unable to do it by yourselves and you've reached out to us, just show us that same empathy. You know what I mean? If you've recognized the fact that you are unable to do it internally for whatever the reasons are, that you have too much pressure on time, you have too much pressure on costs, your quality hasn't been up to par, and you've now decided to outsource it, and you've recognized the difficulty of the project, just share that empathy with us. Give us that burden. That's our job. I'm happy to take that burden. I'm happy 100%. To feel the anxiety, the pressure, the time crunch, the cost crunch. I'm happy to do all of that. I'm in the service business. I've chosen this. I'm happy to do it. But just show me that empathy. Right? I think recognize the difficulty of the challenge that you've handed to us and don't make things more difficult than they have to be.
Yeah.
Collaborate with us. We're here to help you guys because you weren't able to do it by yourselves.
Yeah.
Right? That's all I would ask for them to do. I'm happy to take, the hot potato and figure it out.
Yeah.
But just show us that you're
we're an
with us.
extension of their business, right?
Precisely.
So, so treat us that way.
Exactly.
Bring us in, give us a seat at the table, hear our voice. Let's bounce off each other and get the solution that you need for your business.
And the other thing I would say to them is that they have to recognize that by the time they've reached out to us, they've pushed kind of this can down the road for like 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, sometimes a year. And then they finally internally aligned to outsource it. And while they took a year to get to this point and ponder and ponder and ponder, it is not reasonable for them to come to us and say, I need this tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? So show us the same empathy you showed yourselves internally. Right?
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what I mean. I think there's a level of kind of camaraderie that has to kind of, come back to the table. I don't feel that we have those types of relationships most of the time.
You mentioned earlier that you've grown.
Yeah,
and matured.
Yeah, most of the time.
Still got some of those sort of things that you said were lingering around, which we all have. I mean, part of being a business owner, part of being a successful entrepreneur is you do have to have a sense of sort of self-confidence, ego to be able to build what you build, right? That has to be there. Otherwise, you just won't have that sort of ability to take it to a certain level.
Of course,
right? I've learned over time how to be selective about who I partner with. I've learned hard lessons during that time based on trying to work with everyone or trying to be everything to everyone over the course of my career, thinking that that's the best way because numbers work. Like pipeline, when you work in the sales industry, the more you have, the more chance you have of actually hitting targets, making money, being successful.
Yeah.
And as I've gotten older, I've realized that time is probably the most valuable thing I have, and I'm not going to spend it with or on something that is not going to give me that ROI. Right?
A very tough topic, yeah.
So what's the tipping point for you to be able to sort of say, you know what, this client is a very lucrative client, but this is going to be an absolute pain in the ass? Do we absorb all that, potentially damage the culture in our business because they're going to be so frustrated, potentially even challenge their mental state because they're going to be pushed to beyond the limit where they probably don't need to, but it's lucrative, it's commercially, fantastic as a contract? How do you balance that as a leader? Because you're the one making that final decision. We're doing this, right?
I mean, I could give you the textbook answer and I could tell you the real answer. I mean, I think the textbook answer is, protect your culture, don't grow at all costs, do what's good for your business and your people, and maintain some sort of moral direction and this and that. But that's not just that's not the way the world works. Yeah. Right. I mean, I think you have to take a few steps back and decide what are your leading priorities. Right. Because, and this is going to upset some people, but I think it's going to resonate with some people too. I think when you're building your business, you have to realize that it's your business. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that goes against kind of the general sentiment of how you should build a company. I think most SMEs and small businesses, which I think we are part of, we're not yet the big dogs, but we build companies and we always forget why we build companies. We build companies for us, for our lifestyle, for our wants and needs, for our families first. Yeah. That's not to mean it's going to be built on the backs of people that don't matter. Yeah. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm just saying at the end of the day, we need to realize what it is we're building for. Yeah. Right? And I think that's extremely important. So in my case, I build for, the sustainability of the income that I need to live the lifestyle that I want. Yeah. Right? And when I'm building my business, I need to realize that, there's a certain amount of revenue that I need. Yeah. And when you're a small and growing business, I hate to break it to you, but there's not a long line of people waiting to work for you or work with you. Yeah. Right? So either clients or people, it's like tooth and nail to get revenue and tooth and nail to get talent. And so, the expression, beggars can't be choosers. There are different cycles or different stages in a cycle of a business. Yeah. If I looked at the last couple of years, my sole focus was growth. Yeah. And, maybe I wouldn't go as far as growth at all costs, but growth is my leading priority. Yeah. And so I have moments in my business where I'll tell you my rule was leave no money on the table. Yeah. right? So I think it depends on your core objectives, because at the end of the day, if you prioritize things that are not affecting your bottom line in your business, and you ignore things for moral reasons, sometimes too much, and you overweigh the cultural kind of, I would say, DNA of your business, and you leave money on the table, you might lose your business sometimes. The world is not sunshine and rainbows, right? And so,
it's brutal,
especially in this part of the world. Like, I think, I've built businesses outside of the Middle East as well. I've had companies in North America too, and what I'll tell you is that the infrastructure here and the general culture of business is not, always going to be aligned with your own values. We're a melting pot of people from all over the world, and people build businesses however they deem fit. And so, I would go, a few steps back and say, what are my leading priorities this year? Like this year, my leading priority is not growth. My leading priority is sustainability.
Yeah.
It's net profit. It's talent, retention of clients. 2 years ago, I didn't care if a client, stayed for 3 years with me. I just wanted more and more revenue. I just wanted more and more growth. And why did I want more and more growth? To be able to afford the talent that I have today.
Yeah.
So I think when you're a leader building a business, every year you set priorities, and then your kind of execution plan might be a little bit different. I don't think that you can go with a blanket statement that this is how we do things.
No,
all
it
the
always
time.
changes. It always moves.
You always have to evolve. You always have to kind of a little bit more of this ingredient, a little less of that ingredient. I mean, just don't forget who you are.
Yeah.
It's just, it's not at any cost. It's not, sign your morals away.
No.
But, at the end of the day, you have to be very focused on what your goals are.
You have to build, you have to survive.
100%.
And you mentioned it's the original reason why you started the business. You mentioned and you reiterated it is your business, right? So everything that you do is based on those things that you need for yourself, for your family, for the original motivations as to why you did it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm re-saying this again because we work in an industry where we advise businesses when it comes to people and culture, right? And I would say that's probably the biggest challenge in most businesses outside of finances, right? Managing cash flow. The next part is definitely talent, whether you can attract them or whether you can retain them, right? And I've been guilty of saying this in a few other talks that I've had around the sort of region over the last few years. Businesses are so guilty of creating this so-called family culture, right? And I was asked once in like a fireside chat when I was sitting down with a few founders, and they asked me about the family sort of culture. And I said, why is the family culture so important for you? And no one really had an answer for it, apart from they've seen a few sort of talks or they've read a few things about, creating this sort of, closeness. I said, families are typically dysfunctional. You don't choose your families. They don't always get along. You get along by the fact that you have that sort of that relationship that, because you've been brought up to respect your siblings, your parents from a very young age. But are they the people that you choose to spend every day with? Are they the people that you choose to sort of, build something with? More often than not. Right. Yeah. So why are we trying to create this sort of dysfunctional sort of culture, labeling it something that we know that everyone here has got a bad relationship with either a parent, a sibling, an uncle or auntie, yet they want to create this sort of culture. So it has to be more about, we are here to do a job. And I remember once we had this years ago, I was in Australia and I was working for $1 billion business, right? I think the number 2 company in the world, Randstad. And I had one of the largest teams then. And we had this sort of thing where we got together as a team. We got these external sort of HR people coming in just to talk to us about what we want to stand for. What's our mantra, whatever it may be. And the whole team, they identified this. It was, do your effing job. So no more complaints. Be accountable. We're here to do a job. We're here to be successful. We're here to make friends. We're not here to have rainbows and lollipops and skip around and be all fluffy and so forth.
Sure.
If you can squeeze that in, fantastic. But the ultimate goal was high performance, do your effing job.
Yeah.
That is it. We put it on the wall until HR told us to take it down, right?
Of course.
But that is just so important, right? And business leaders forget this because they try and go the other way. They try and create this, come on board, wear this, put your arm around you and so forth. No, we'll be empathetic when we need to be.
Yeah, I think on that point, I mean, if you just take our roles, right? So I guess I'm the leader of DuckLife.
Yeah.
I'm the CEO of DuckLife. I'm not the father of my employees.
No.
Right? I'm not here to kind of, parent them. I'm not here to like protect them. I think of myself more of a manager or coach.
Yeah.
Right? Or if we take a different analogy and we go maybe the sports team.
Yeah.
I subscribe more to that kind of, I guess, sentiment or structure or mindset where, I believe our role as a business is to kind of have a baseline of respect, right? And I think there needs to be a baseline of trust. You got into the job because we believe you have the technical skills, the human skills to do the role.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I think as managers, as coaches, our job is to make sure that they perform in their role for their benefit as well as the organization's benefit.
Yeah.
I've always said this, and my business partner, Lauren, hates when I say this, but I say to everybody, I don't care how long you stay at DuckLife. Like, I don't care if you're here for 6 months, 2 years, 5 years. So long as the time that you've been here, you've grown professionally.
Yeah.
Right? And
that's hard to hear for them.
It's hard because I think a lot of people think that my intention is for people to stay as long as they can in the business. I don't care. I'm happy for you to come and go, right?
Yeah.
My job is not to be your best friend and make sure you stay here forever.
Yeah. It's not
my job.
It's not for life.
It's not for life.
No.
And if it is, then amazing, right? Like, I don't think that there's a downside to that as well. I just think that that's not my intention. Like, tenure is not something that I kind of put on the wall and pat myself on the back with, right? I fundamentally look at the growth of the business and the growth of the people in the business, right? I mean, similarly, I don't think it's in today's day and age, I don't think it's strategically, strong for people who work in businesses to stay there in the same role for too long either.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And so I don't believe in the family kind of, I guess, analogy. I do believe that there are relationships that you can make in the workplace that end up being extremely
100%.
kind of similar to a family in the sense that you appreciate them, they appreciate you. There's a trust, there's an honesty. And I think that's great, but I don't think that's fundamentally the objective here. The objective here is that we are in this team together. We have one goal that we're all aligned with. We're going in the same direction, and we all play different pieces of the puzzle to get us there, right? And I think if anybody doesn't play their role correctly, then it's a collective failure. But if the management of the business doesn't identify the weak link in the chain and doesn't act on it, whether it's upskilling, supporting, or changing kind of that person, then that's fundamentally our fault.
Yeah.
Now, as a parent, if your kid isn't, aligning with your family values, is always disruptive, is not doing what you want, you can't kick them out, right? And so that's where I think I would draw the line between those analogies. Right? I don't think, like you said, family is family. It's an innate commitment that you would never turn your back on family. Whereas as a business owner, if you're not going to help us, if you're not going to support this team, I don't need you here. Yeah. Right? And that's fundamentally the difficult truth to hear nowadays. Right?
Have you become a better leader since becoming a parent?
100%.
Yeah?
I communicate way better.
Is there a correlation between the two?
I don't know if it's just becoming a parent or also just age and experience. I think it's a bit of the two, right? I think when you're a bit younger, and I've been, I guess, entrepreneurial most of my life, straight out of, I think, my late teens to now, I think fundamentally you see the truth in things. Right? I saw a piece of content a couple of weeks ago that said, until you're 40, everything is research. Yeah. And after 40, that's when you start really implementing and living your best life professionally, personally, et cetera. Yeah. I really subscribe to that. And I think parenting has a huge piece to that, right? Because you need a level of empathy and patience, of communication, et cetera, that is unparalleled to business. Yeah. But I think also having, DuckLife is 7 years old. I've had 3 of my own businesses before. I've been in different startups in the region. I've been in this chaotic building phase most of my life. Yeah. And I know when to call bullshit. I know what's real, what's not. I know what effort translates, etc. And most importantly, I would say my emotional intelligence is nothing like it used to be. Like, my emotional intelligence today is super, super
the most underrated skill.
It is. I think it is what can make or break a business. you know. It helps you in recognizing who to hire, who to fire.
Yeah.
It helps you in recognizing who to do business with, who to not do business with. I think emotional intelligence and understanding people is the one talent that I don't know if we could teach, but I think it's the one talent that I think most people really have to invest in. Yeah.
You mentioned bullshit.
Yeah.
Let's talk some bullshit for a second.
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Running a business in this region.
Yeah. That's a nice segue. Okay, cool.
We're going to go there.
Okay, sure. Let's do it.
Commercially, the finances can break us, right?
Yeah.
Cash flow can break us.
Yeah.
Cash flow kills every business.
Yeah.
Every small business. No matter what.
More so in the region than in other. I mean, I don't have the data, but I have that impression. Yeah.
Having worked in Oz, Asia Pac, having worked in the UK, and having worked here, cash flow is definitely the number one killer here.
Yeah.
Right?
I believe it.
If they were to make those sort of smoking ads and those cancer ads and for businesses, it'd be like cash flow kills you.
100%.
Right?
100%.
Because it's just so impactful.
I mean, we've been at the brink of that a few times.
Yeah, and you and I have spoken over the course of our sort of journey about the frustration of being able to collect sort of payment. I'm sitting with you, I'm a new business owner for argument's sake, and I'm saying, Christian, just give me some advice. How do I manage cash flow? Because you've had a really good point, mashallah, where you've gotten to a point where profitability is there, cash flow is strong and so forth. But how do you get it there? What's your advice? And what's your sort of message to the people who are causing this problem?
Yeah, I mean, let's break it down a bit. I think I just want to explain the problem a bit because I think a lot of people stay on the surface of it. They don't understand the depth of how cash flow can hurt you, not just from a survivability, but from a growth, from an operations. I don't think people understand it. Cash flow is basically the amount of cash you have in your bank account, right? Your actual cash. And that cash flow pays for your operations, your rent, your people, your COGS, whatever it costs you to service your clients or products, whatever, right? And you need cash in the bank in order to be able to pay those bills. The problem is, as you know, and as we were saying earlier, we're always entertaining new business. So RFP here, pitch there, blah, blah, blah. And all of those are future investments that you hope you might close and bring back. So you make investments constantly in your business. Investments in the sense that I'm going to take 15 hours of that team and I'm going to do a pitch. But that's a loss. You have to write it off. Those hours, because we're in the business of service. So we basically sell the hours of our knowledgeable people. We're selling hours of knowledge. But when we put hours towards pitches and creative concepts and RFPs, you literally as a business owner have to accept to write it off because you don't know if you're going to win that business.
100%.
Now, depending on how strong your cash flow position is, it will dictate how much new business you can entertain in terms of pitching and like just trying to do business development. Now, here's the thing. If I win a big account, right, and my cash flow position is weak, and weak saying, let's say I have 3 months of runway, 3 months of cash flow, but I win a mega account, and that mega account, let's say, represents, probably 5 new hires and maybe 5 of my existing team members. What people don't understand, and I'm saying this explicitly because I feel like no one has ever really explained it properly and how damaging it can be. Even if I win that mega account, but that mega account's pay terms are 90 days, I might go bust trying to service that account.
Before you get paid first.
Before I get paid first. And so when you're a small or a medium business and you build kind of a business case and you pitch and you win a mega account and you have a medium cash flow, I need to tell you that is the scariest moment in your life in the region because you know that 90 days means 120 days. And you know that your cash flow won't get you to that point, and you need to front load your expenses to service that account. So when you have a bad cash flow as a business or a difficult cash flow, you cannot grow. And you can only grow with small accounts that you can force different payment terms on. So the problem with the region is that generally, if you don't have a healthy cash flow, you can only grow very slowly if you don't take huge risks and huge gambles. And that's fundamentally the challenge with cash flow. So what I would tell a business owner who just started a company Number one, discipline in your cash flow is everything. I used to think that having 6 months of cash was amazing, right? What you don't realize is things can happen, right? You might lose a mega client tomorrow. You might have a company that tells you, we have some cash flow problems of our own.
Yeah.
We'll have to kind of push payments out for the next 6 months. We still love you. We want to work with you, et cetera, et cetera. And so, number one, I think discipline is really everything. And what I mean by discipline is sometimes it means don't even pay yourself, right? You need to remember that you're selling knowledge. You're selling the ability of your team. And you shouldn't be doing execution as a business owner in theory. Mm-hmm. And so not paying yourself is something that you should really entertain on a regular basis. And if you're starting a business and you don't have enough cash, personal cash in your own bank account to last you at least a year or two, I really would not recommend starting a business. Yeah. I really wouldn't recommend it. Dubai is an expensive city. The Gulf is an expensive city. If you're going to start a new business and you don't have in your own personal bank account enough money to keep you rolling for a year, I'm talking rent, I'm talking schooling, I'm talking everything you need to do.
Yeah, it's pricey.
Don't start a business. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't encourage it. Yeah. And that's me at 40, not at 20, right? Yeah. The other thing I would say is, relationships are everything in our region. And so payment terms are payment terms, but relationships are, I think, more powerful than payment terms. Yeah. And so I think a lot of people, are unable to kind of go get their money in the market that they're owed because they don't have relationships with their clients, right? I think people forget that at the end of the day, when you do business with an organization, it's just one group of people doing business with another group of people, and people need to have relationships with people. Yeah. And I think, if you think about the bigger organizations and the bigger opportunities, they also have cash flow challenges themselves, and they prioritize who they're going to pay. Yeah. And, often they prioritize who they're going to pay based on, the most obvious, which is most important services that they need as their lifeline. But what comes after that is relationships. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I think one thing that I've really, really learned kind of the hard way is that, the importance of relationships and how critical they are to the survival of your business. Right. And so I hate to say it to most people, but I think sometimes we get paid on time just because people like us. Yeah. Just because people respect us, just because people trust us. And you can't do that with, a procurement platform. No. Sometimes you can't just submit your invoice and just wait the 90 days and see if you get paid. You have to build a relationship with your stakeholders all the time. And as leaders of a business, if you're going to run a business, your main job is to build relationships with your ecosystem, with your clients, with your stakeholders, with your employees, with your partners. And fundamentally, that takes most of my time. I think relationships are everything. I'll sometimes I get on a plane and I'll go meet my clients just to get paid. Yeah, you know what I mean. And I think it's the ugly truth of our business, right? And I think there are some cultural issues as well in the region as to why this exists. I think a bit more here. I think it's quite a cultural thing too. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of people that start businesses here are afraid of confronting those conversations, right? Like
they're afraid to even ask.
Yeah, I remember when I first started DuckLife. I remember our first kind of critical situation was probably 8 months into the business, where on paper we were killing it. We were oh my God, I can't believe this is our first year. This is incredible. We should have done this 5 years ago. Yeah. But in my bank account, I was almost in the red. Yeah. And I had a much smaller team, but I wasn't going to be able to pay them. And back then, my first year, I just took my personal cash, pumped it back into the business, paid my staff, paid my teams, and I kicked the can down the road. Eventually, we got paid, but today, my problem solving is very different. Yeah. When I'm owed money or when there's money that's going to hurt us, we take drastic action. But first we just ask for it. It's incredible what would happen if you just ask for it. Yeah. Right. Just pick up the phone. Yeah. And if you're unable to pick up the phone and have that conversation, that's your fault. Yeah. You don't have the relationship.
Make them tell you why they can't pay you.
Exactly.
It's so difficult for that person to do, as opposed to them to just ignore your emails or to ignore your messages to ask for an update. Get on the phone or go and see them. I think it's such an underrated skill to have as a business owner, I think, to collect that cash.
I think the last thing I'll also say to a business owner is, if you find yourself always chasing your money, then maybe ask yourself if they find your service worthy. Yeah. right? If they see the value in your service and they're like, oh, we need to take care of these guys. They do amazing work for us. What they do is critical to our business. Then they will prioritize paying you.
Yeah.
If they don't see the value in your business and they don't think that you're good at what you do, and they're just dragging you along because the contract of the term ends in 11 months or whatever, then ask yourself if you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of the times what I've also realized is you can draw correlations between why some people pay you on time and some people don't pay you on time, and sometimes that's perception of value.
Yeah.
Right. So like, we have some clients that will never pay us late because, when you speak to them, they love what we do for them. They find it extremely important.
Yeah.
Whereas some clients will just see us as like another kind of, tool.
Yeah, it's what you said. Like their priority list on what bills they have to pay is based on the impact that it's having on their business and their relationship that they have with that individual or that business as well, right? So if you're not having an impact because they don't value your service and you don't have the relationship with them, you're not going to be top of the list to get that invoice paid when they have multiple invoices to pay. You're working with a big family group. You're not the only invoice going out there that month, right? So they're going to be paying numerous invoices, and if you don't have that relationship, forget about it.
And that's the thing. Like if you're always chasing your payments, no one's paying you on time, maybe rethink how you do business, because maybe your service isn't as good as you think it is. Yeah.
We're going to go through a lightning round now, which is going to be quite entertaining because I know you personally. This is going to be fun. All right. So if DuckLife had a mascot, what would it be? Think American sports. Think like that.
If it was a mascot, I think it'd probably be like a cheetah.
Yeah? Why?
Yeah. I really value moving fast.
Yeah.
I really value moving fast.
Yeah.
And I don't like to be like fat and heavy. I think cheetahs are super lean, super quick.
Yeah.
And they only kind of, I think, run and act on need, not on want.
You don't portray that sort of intensity off the bat, right? It's a very subtle sort of impact that when you do communicate with you and work with you and see you operate, it just comes in like a big sort of wave at the end, right? It's not just you're not a loud person in the room, right?
Yeah.
So you have that, but it comes quite powerfully. Mate, this has been, it's flown, mate.
Wow.
It's flown. Okay, we just knocked it out 45 minutes, thanks for coming on board, man.
Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate it. This will be one to watch. Appreciate you.